So this is a video about mini splits, and I'm going to start by telling you how they worked out for us, and then afterwards we'll talk about the details of what I went through and what I think you should know before you commit to getting mini splits. So I purchased this home that I live in about 20 years ago, and I was young and stupid, and they told me, oh, it's got electrical radiant heat, and I said, okay, but it's got a furnace downstairs in the basement for the basement floor. I said, all right. So we bought the house and moved in, and when fall came, and I said, okay, how do I heat the place? And we were told, boy, if you turn that on now, your electrical bill, you won't believe how expensive it's going to be. So we were afraid to mess with it. We experimented a couple times in bedrooms, and it was very hard to control. It would heat up the bedroom like an oven. So I searched around, and I bought a gas fireplace. And this is what we've used for most of the time we've lived in this house. And it's a gas fireplace, with a fan and a blower, and we were told this will heat your house. And it did. Now, we didn't leave it running all night, and we became used to, in our family, waking up in the morning, you could see your breath. And whoever was first out of bed with the kids and everything, we're empty nesters now, but when the kids lived here, the first one out of bed would sprint to the living room here and turn on this fireplace. And it took 10 or 15 minutes to heat up the house to be comfortable so you weren't shivering, and then another 15 minutes to really, the pressure, I can't remember what they called it, I'm not a heating expert, but it builds up a pressure that spreads throughout the house, and it will heat the whole house. So this is what we've used to heat the house until we got the mini splits, and swamp cooler, evaporative cooler to cool the house. Now that's why we got the mini splits, because as we got older, the kids were gone. A swamp cooler on the hottest days of July and August, man, it doesn't do anything. And the house would be unbearable on days when the heat was really up there. Just unbearable. And I told my wife last year, this is it. We have to do something. I can't take the heat anymore. So we got mini splits. Now, did our electrical bill go down? It did. Running the swamp cooler 24 hours a day would run our electrical bill way up. And that's what we would do, because if you let the swamp cooler turn off, the house just heats up like an oven. And so from middle of June till September, that swamp cooler ran 24 hours a day. Now in the wintertime, we use the mini splits to heat as well. And we were told when we investigated mini splits, they won't heat your house. They do. They produce a good amount of heat, even when the temperature's down in the 20s outside. It's heated. The heating has been really nice. And the electrical bill hasn't been unreasonable. I mean, it didn't go down by a miracle amount, but it has been cheaper. And we haven't had to run the furnace downstairs nearly as much. And so the gas bill has gone way down this winter. So we've been very satisfied. So now I'll tell you the process that you need to be aware of if you get involved in this. When I started to investigate, what can I do to heat and cool my house? First thing, I was told you can install ductwork, because there's no ductwork in the house because it wasn't built to have a furnace upstairs. Well, the ductwork installation was going to be terribly expensive and horribly messy. And I'm the kind of guy I could figure out how to do that myself. I would have made a terrible mess, and it would have looked homemade when I was done. And I wasn't attracted to that option. But at Lowe's Home Improvement Store, there was a few years they had a display and a sales rep talking about mini splits. And I had seen them in mostly businesses, and I thought, ooh, that's a great idea. One day, I'll look into that. So last year, Lowe's didn't have a display, they weren't talking about it. But on their website, boy, the price of the units seemed unbelievably affordable, and I decided I would do that. So I called Lowe's, and they said, yes, we'll send out a representative. A contractor, and I noticed his truck, a guy from a heating and air conditioning company comes over. The guy takes his tablet, he goes through my house, and he makes a lot of notes, and he says, I'll send you a quote. Almost $20,000. And I told him, I said, why would I pay almost $20,000 when I could have normal air conditioning installed and figure out how to do the duct work for much less money? He says, well, but you'd have these mini splits. I said, yeah, but the regular AC would be invisible. But once I was done, you wouldn't have things hanging on the walls. And so I was very frustrated. And I started to do what everybody does, watching hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. And the YouTube videos that I saw were telling me, you can do this yourself. You can do this yourself. And I was really excited. And then I'm an older guy, I thought, I bet they have this stuff on Amazon. And I had already budgeted, I had the money ready to go. And so I started looking on Amazon, and I was quick on the trigger finger. Bang, I just bought 3 units, boom, send them to me. And you know, I had looked at reviews, and I had come to the conclusion that in my older guy opinion, I don't think there's 100 manufacturers out there with different plants making these mini splits. I think they all come basically from the same people are making the components. They all work about the same, my guess is. And I didn't find negative reviews saying, ooh, this one just doesn't work. It didn't cool, it broke down. The negative reviews were customer service related things. People deciding they wanted to return it and fighting with customer service. So I was pretty confident that any brand I bought would function, would work. Well, I didn't look at the physical dimensions. And I'm going to show you now what my plan was. For my upstairs air conditioning unit, I wanted to get a floor unit that would go right here and use it to cool the upper floor. I wanted to get a heavy duty, large BTU unit to put right there. But I didn't consider that this space, the unit would have been facing this closet door. That's where the air would have been flowing. So I'm kind of glad it didn't work, because what I got was this unit right here, this Gree. And I was shocked when it arrived because it was huge, and I was very disappointed. I didn't want something this big, but this unit is very powerful. Now, this unit cools my entire upper floor. I could run it all night and cool my bedroom if I let it run all night. Now see, we turn this thing on, and the air blows into the living room over there and eventually circulates throughout the house. My little office where I do my computer work and play my guitar, it used to be like an oven all summer long, but I can comfortably go in there now during the summer and play my guitar and get on my computer. We didn't want to run the Gree out there in the kitchen all night long, so I bought this small unit just for our bedroom. Now, before I purchased these mini splits, we had a window air conditioner that looked real cheesy and was very loud, but we'd put it in the window and it would cool the place down like a refrigerator. Now this unit is great. It's a 110. See, most of these mini splits are 220 volt. This is a 110 volt. And it cools the bedroom down, perfectly comfortable to sleep in on the hottest days of the summer. The heating function barely takes the chill out of the air. So I'm a little bit disappointed in this one. I wish I would have got a little bit heavier duty unit, and if I replace any of them in the coming years, this will be the first one. But it works out fine for what we're doing. This is the unit I installed downstairs. It's a medium unit and it's perfect. So one of the problems we had downstairs is that our TV is down here, and we watch movies and TV in the evening here. In the summertime, we'd try to set up a fan in the doorway to the stairs to cool the place down, but then you couldn't hear the TV. And in the summertime, you can hear it right now, the furnace cycles on in the wintertime, and you can't hear the TV. So this was a perfect solution, because these things are silent essentially. And we can run it in the summertime. It cools the whole basement down nicely, and you can watch a movie. And now in the wintertime, the same thing. We can have it turn to heat, and doesn't make any noise, and we can watch a movie. So by the time the units arrived, I had been watching, like I say, hundreds of hours of YouTube videos, and I had decided, I don't know if I can do this myself. And I was seeing videos of people who said, I bought this mini split, hooked it all up, turned it on, it doesn't cool. And so I realized there was things about it, technical things that they didn't understand how to do, like pulling a vacuum. So I started making calls to HVAC companies to see if they could advise me or help me. And man, I learned the first hard lesson. HVAC companies hate it when you buy this stuff off Amazon and try to install it yourself, and they will not help. And they'll tell you why. You know what? Buy it from us. We'll service we'll install what we sell, but we will not help you. And then of course you've got HVAC guys that don't sell equipment. No, won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. There's a stigma against this kind of equipment when you buy it. You go out and buy the equipment to install it yourself. And it seemed to me, I'm not going to give you any prices because I'm embarrassed, but it seemed to me that attitude spread to electricians and all kinds of people in the service industry, because when I would call and say, call an electrician, I need a quote in putting in 220 volt hookup so I can plug these mini splits in, their attitude seemed to be, well, I got a special price for you because you bought mini splits off of Amazon. And I'll give you an example. I called an HVAC company and the guy said very sarcastically, yeah, I'll come help you figure it all out and install your mini splits for $8,000. That's my base price. You pay me $8,000, I'll help you. And same thing with electricians. So I was wary, and the electrician that I finally accepted, his bid was, I'm not going to tell you what it was, but it was very disappointing. Now, we eventually had the blessing of having a neighbor say to us, hey, I know a guy. And that's what, when you're doing something like this, you're just waiting for somebody to say, hey, I know a guy. And I had been asking neighbors and family members and anybody I could think of, and everybody said, hey, I have no idea what to do, what to tell you to do. Finally, a neighbor across the street said, hey, I know a guy. And we were so thankful for that. And we called this kid that serviced their AC every year, and I called him and told him what I was up against. He said, sure, I'll help you. He charged me $800, and it was worth every penny. Now, I started to study on how to pull a vacuum, and I thought, man, I guess I could figure it out. And you could buy the equipment, the pump and the gauges and everything on Amazon for a few $100s. I guess I could figure it out, but I'm not HVAC certified by any stretch of the imagination. The electrical, no way. And so it was worth it. Now, I'm going to show you some of the things to consider as you decide whether or not to have people help you with this. So the stuff arrived, and I started looking at stuff that I could do. And I made cement pads to put the compressors on. This is for the unit that goes downstairs. And this is for the grille there in the kitchen. Some of the stuff, as I started to study it, that concerned me. They talked about minimum lengths for line sets, and this compressor right here, the grille is the inside unit is literally just on the other side of the wall. And so the kid that came out to pull the vacuum and help me set this up, he said, no, it's no problem, I can hook it up. The other thing that concerned me was working with the copper tubing. He was very confident. This one had the line set was not long enough, and he had no problem. He said, that's fine. He just soldered on an extension, and it worked just fine. And okay, here's one of the first challenges. I needed a hole through the brick. So I hired a guy, he came out, drilled a really nice, perfectly circular hole. And I've put some great stuff in there. I haven't trimmed it off yet. I'm going to do that today. But it was really expensive. And I thought, gosh, man, I'm just killing my budget on this stuff. So this one, I drilled myself. I had a hammer drill. So I thought, get the right bit and just drill it yourself. Man, that was a mess. That was a horrible mess, and the hole was ugly when it was done. A lot of work. But I did that one myself. So that's something to consider. You can have somebody do things like drill holes through walls. Maybe you don't have to go through brick. The electrician told me you had to have 220. You're going to need a new box. And so that his bill was really expensive. So he installed that, but as you can see, there's no way I could have done this kind of work myself. And then this one comes around, and of course this unit's a 110, which is disappointing to me. But you know, I made the cement base to put all these on, and installed drilled the hole clear up there in our bedroom, and put this covering on it myself. I did everything I could myself. But you know, to run that line set, when I watched that kid do it, he had a digital meter and a vacuum thing. He spent good 45 minutes on each one as he connected it all up and decided if it was all running properly. And he could wrestle and rodeo that copper tubing very confidently, and I was worried about kinking it, because then you've ruined it. So that was the challenges, but there they are now running. And the last thing I would worry about is condensation. There's the condensation tube that's coming out of that hole. Boy, if that water isn't coming out freely and is pooling up, it will find a place to drip in the house. And I'll show that in a second here. So when we got this one running, and it was running through the night, we woke up a couple of times in the night to the sound of water dripping like it was in a faucet. And what was happening was the line set that goes through this wall into the closet and then out, I had to drill that one. Boy, that was a nightmare, drilling through that brick wall at that height. But that condensation tube has to be perfectly aligned, you know, pointing from where it comes out of the unit downhill just slightly to that hole. And if it's kinked, or if the water can back up in any way, it will drip out of the unit. And so you can buy pumps if it's not working out. The one downstairs, I'm going to have to buy a pump, because there is no way to drain it and let gravity get it out to any place. I mean, I could plumb it to get to a drain for the sink, but it would be really, oh man, it would be complicated. So we're going to put a pump and take it out the side of the house. Becomes a problem. I'm tempted to say put it in a bucket and remember to fill the bucket. But anyway, so this unit has been the main unit that we bought. And I mean, the whole thing, I think it was less than $2,000, maybe slightly more than $2,000 with the compressor and everything. And it was bigger than I wanted it to be, and I was very disappointed. But it cools the entire house if you let it run. And it doesn't cost more to run than the swamp cooler cost. So we're very happy with it. And it heats. On the coldest winter day, it blows out very comfortable, nice furnace heat. So this is where I'll end this video. Buy these things. The unit cost themselves is unbelievable if you buy them, you know, directly off of like Amazon or other sites. Very inexpensive. But remember, if you can't do it all yourself, nobody wants to help you. And if they're willing to help, they're going to ask more money than their help is worth. And remember that most of these units are 220 volt AC, and it's going to cost money to have an electrician come and hook up your house so that they can be supplied to electricity. And that was disappointingly expensive. And that there's all kinds of little expenses like drilling holes through wall if you have to go through brick. You have to decide, what can you really do yourself? I mean, I was pretty proud of myself as I was making the little cement pads to put them on, but boy, I couldn't do the copper tubing. I was not qualified to try to pull the vacuums on these things. But are they worth it? Yes. The heating and cooling is very comfortable and not expensive. And so we've been very happy with our mini split systems.